as well knowing your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. And if you would like to watch us, we are live and live in color over at SuperTalk TV. And our SuperTalk Mississippi news team, they are always covering your Mississippi stories, and we'd love for you to stay up to date and sign up for that free weekly newsletter. And joining us in studio today is Caleb Sailors. He's one of the voices of SuperTalk Mississippi News, and he's here to bring us the good headlines. So welcome back, Caleb.
The good headlines. I get plenty of time on air to talk about the bad or the sad, tragic headlines, but I get to talk to you about some good stuff today.
Good things. Plenty going on.
And really good things. To me personally, it was a good thing last night seeing the Kansas City Chiefs three-peat thwarted by the Philadelphia Eagles. I am a notorious Kansas City Chiefs hater. So I was glad to see the Eagles win the game last night. But also it was cool to see, as a guy, I grew up pulling for Ole Miss, and that's the team I kind of cover on our beat here. It was cool to see A.J. Brown, Ole Miss guy. He from Starkville, but went to, instead of going to the hometown school, Mississippi State, he kind of went hour the other way, went to Oxford, went to Ole Miss and played college football. He had a touchdown last night, 43 yards, was the Eagles' second most productive wide receiver last night. It was cool to see him shine. He had a touchdown the first Super Bowl he went to when they lost to the Chiefs, so kind of got revenge last night. But we had plenty of Mississippi guys on the winning team last night. Darius Slay, defensive back. He's from Georgia, but he played his college days at Mississippi State, part of a really, really, really good Bulldog defense when Dan Mullen was their head coach. Also, we had Kenny Gainwell, who's a running back. He's from Yazoo County, kind of got overlooked by the Mississippi schools, so he ended up playing at Memphis, and when Memphis had an incredible stable of running backs, but he played a good bit last night as a a kick specialist. And then Byron Young, who did not play last night, he's injured for the Eagles, but he's from the Taylorsville, Laurel area. Actually played his college days at Alabama, kind of shows you how talented he was. And then even on the losing team, on the Chiefs, you had Swayze Bozeman from Flora. Ben Milam, one of our other reporters, and myself actually played football against him in middle school, and that's probably the hardest the two of us have ever been hit by a guy. Stands to reason he's in the NFL. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember seeing all white after getting hit by him. But Swayze Bozeman and then Chris Jones, obviously defensive tackle for the Chiefs, arguably the best defensive tackle in the NFL. He's from Houston and played at Mississippi State. And really weird recruiting battle. I won't go into the details on that, but if you ever want to learn more about that, Will East is a great guy to tell you about that. And so we had plenty of Mississippi representation last night in the Super Bowl, and it was cool to see, New Orleans, not far from here, so we got to see some of our local guys shine in a place that wasn't far from here. And then, me personally, I was really happy with the outcome of the game. I was actually very giddy.
Did you actually make it to the fourth quarter?
Yeah, oh yeah. I watched the entire. I'm a football guy, Rebecca. I'm watching it to the minute. But it's weird watching a game, like watching an NFL game or the Super Bowl to be exact, and not have a reporter's mindset. Because usually I'm watching these games I'm looking at stats. I'm looking at, all right, who's got the hot hand right now? Who is performing the best? What matchups are on the field right now? What is the coaches trying to exploit? Because I usually have that kind of mindset because I'm usually in the press box at an Ole Miss game, and I'm kind of watching it from that perspective. And last night I kind of got to enjoy some unhealthy foods and kick back and relax. I'm just going to enjoy a football game. And also went in with full expectations that the Chiefs were going to win because I just believe that there's a conspiracy that just to give them everything and make Taylor Swift fans happy, and I was just happy to see that not be the case.
What else you got for us, Caleb?
We have had our first ever penguins hatched in Mississippi. The Mississippi Aquarium announced this last week. Yeah, really, really cool, but this happened a while ago. They just finally announced it, and it probably for justified reasons. Penguin number 1 was born on January 20th, and I don't know if our listeners remember, but we had a huge weather event happening on the Gulf Coast. And so these, wonderful staffers at Mississippi Aquarium, they still have to take care of the animals there. So they're having to trek through snow and ice and get to the facility in Gulfport. And, penguin number 1 was hatched to parents Pumpkin and Blue. Awesome names, by the way. And then 5 days later, the penguin colony grew. Penguin number 2 was born to surrogates Fiona and Duke. So really cool. We've got new penguins at Mississippi Aquarium, so if you want to go down there, you'll get to see penguins. And they're still building they're planning to build a big penguin habitat for all of their African penguins they have on site. They're about $1.5 million short of their $9 million goal. So y'all, if you're listening, donate. It's a really cool place, though. I will harp on this every time I get a chance, Rebecca. That facility is such a gem on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's perfectly located on Beach Boulevard, and it's perfectly spotted. And the layout is interesting. It's not like you go in this one big facility and you're walking around. It's layered. There's an outdoor portion where you see your like freshwater fish, and then you have the otters out there and a bird exhibit. And then inside you've got the penguins, the sharks, everything. It's a really cool place. I'm not going to get long-winded on that, but if you do go now, you'll get to see 2 little penguin chicks, and
That's so cute too.
And I think they're planning on doing They did a lot of penguin-themed events last year. They did a huge Christmas display. I'd be shocked if they didn't do more penguin-themed events. I think they actually have announced that they're doing some more, too, in the near future.
Well, I love that. What else we got, Caleb?
More, I guess, outdoor animal-related story. An assistant professor at Mississippi State, Javon Hill, has discovered, or he led the way to a discovery of 16 new grasshopper species. It was a hopping discovery in academia here, but 16 new species, and these were found in the U.S. and Mexican deserts, so not super far from home from us, but 16 new species. I didn't know that there were multiple, me, little old Mississippi boy, I didn't know there were multiple grasshopper species to begin with. I'm like, oh, that's a grasshopper. Oh, that's a cricket.
I know some are bigger or smaller, and then I mentioned earlier cricket to a grasshopper. Now I see them in my head. They're 2 very distinct things, but that's neat. I think that would be cool.
The only thing I remember about grasshoppers growing up was being traumatized by watching Hopper in A Bug's Life.
Oh.
Seeing that on the screen as 5-year-old Caleb was not a fan of Hopper flying aggressively onto the screen. So I was
thinking of Jiminy Cricket, though. That's would be our childhood.
See, I was not a huge fan of them growing up. Now I've come around. I'm like, they're pretty cool.
But Ron, is Jiminy Cricket a cricket or a grasshopper?
Well, it depends on the depiction, because crickets have long antennae and grasshoppers have short antennae.
Well, isn't it one brown and one green?
It depends on the species.
See, I'm just generalizing.
Well, and the weather's going to be warming up soon. I've used both to go fishing, so...
Well, and who's the bad one now?
Right. See, now I was traumatized by Hopper. Now Hopper might be traumatized by me. But yeah. Little segue into y'all. It's going to get warm out there pretty soon, and then at some point it'll get really, really hot. But capitalize on this weather we're getting. It was beautiful. It was a little cooler this morning, but beautiful outside, and it's a good thing to get outside and to get healthy. But yeah, 16 new grasshoppers. Again, I didn't know there were that many different species of grasshopper to begin with, much less new ones. I mean, how many more are we going to come up with next year or the years after that?
I don't know. Would you ever eat a chocolate-covered grasshopper?
I have.
Have you? Where?
At the New Orleans Aquarium. Actually, I ate.
Now look at me. Look at me turning it dark.
No. I did last year. They had, it wasn't a chocolate-covered one. I have had one of those, I believe, there. But they had, like, crickets, either crickets or grasshoppers that were, like, kind of ground up. But they had them they tasted like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It was delicious. Actually, Kelly Bennett did a newscast on it, and she was talking. She's like, "Is it okay if I run the story? It's not Mississippi based, but it's human interest story." And JT Mitchell, our news director, was like, "Yeah, that's cool." And I was like, "Kelly, hang on one second. I actually had one of these over the weekend. It was kind of serendipitous that was brought up, but
so how was it?
It was good. It tastes
like chicken.
It tasted like Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh,
it was good. My significant other was looking at me with disgust. She was like, "Do not come near me for the rest of this part of the afternoon." But
I'm not sure if I would go for like a whole chocolate covered grasshopper first, or cricket or whatever. Just the ground up part, I think I would need to be left out of the conversation. But there are cultures all over the world that utilize bugs.
Eat bugs, and good source of protein, I presume. But
is it crunchy?
Yeah, it was crunchy. I could crunch. I mean, I'm not a picky guy. I'm kind of an adventurous eater, too. I'm not scared of anything, and so that might be to my demise one day. I might eat something that, may have adverse effects, but...
Yeah, I've said it here plenty of times, Caleb. You just have to give it to me and say, "Hey, try this as something new," and then let me take it with just complete being naive, and then tell me, and I may throw up, but then give you an honest review. But it's like once you put that vision in my head, it's hard for me to overstep that sort of in that way. But cool stuff though that's happening, and it's neat that there's still new things to discover and explore in our natural world that you wouldn't ever sort of think about.
Absolutely. I kind of think of it as God has a sense of humor, giving us a new grasshopper species. I would never have thought of that. And Rebecca, one more cool thing going on in Mississippi, I guess the coolest thing going on in Mississippi right now is right down the road from where we are here in Jackson. The Dixie National Rodeo is up and running. And y'all, I've been to the Dixie National several times, and if you haven't been, you gotta go. And this year, there's a lot of incentive with the concerts, right? You got Ella Langley, who's topping the charts with
If
some
you
of her
don't have
with
a
her songs.
ticket, you ain't getting
Yeah,
one.
well, yeah, true. But Zach Top, and then but the events, the barrel racing, the horse racing, all of the events.
Sounds like they need a grasshopper event.
Maybe that's next. Andy Gibson, if you hear us,
I mean, if it could be considered livestock, I guess, in the right
right? That's true. We can technically fit that in the livestock category.
Where do we go for more good headlines, Caleb?
SuperTalk.fm/lifestyle.
All right, you guys stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.